So there are kind of two parts to this question, right? Yeah. So are you okay? Do you need anything? Like, is there something that I can help you with?
I already knew that. She was laughing.
Well, I know, but I just want to make sure that it's not like something that there's a problem about. Like, I'm just asking. All right. Raise your hand if you said all air pollution is caused by humans. Yeah. Buddy. Or you're just afraid to put your hand up now. So what did you say, Hannah? Most of it is? Okay. I get that giggling happens. Like, I get it. I'm on a time crunch. The amount of homework that you have, and I don't mean, like, I super don't mean this as a threat, but it's an honest truth. The more that you focus, the faster we can get through this. Okay? If I have to pause every 5 seconds to regroup you, then you're going to have a bunch of homework. Okay? If you need to move so that you're not sitting next to your best friend or so you're not making eye contact with your best friend, then please do it. Take responsibility for your actions, you guys. You are almost 10th graders. Some of you are almost 11th graders, right? You need to learn to act like young adults. Okay? Air pollution, much of it is caused by humans. So what air pollution is caused by humans? Let me ask you that part first. So burning fossil fuels. Okay. What else? Is that air pollution though? We're talking just air right now, right? So burning fossil fuels, absolutely, that's a big one. What else? Forest fires, absolutely. And sometimes those are natural, right? Sometimes those are naturally occurring. But I don't know if you followed the news in the last, 3 or 4 years, that we have had so many huge wildfires out in California and in the western part of the United States, most of which were caused by humans, right? And every time you burn something, there's a bunch of stuff that goes up into the atmosphere, right? And that causes air pollution. So absolutely. Forest fires, so these can be either human-caused or naturally occurring. Right? And so that kind of leads us into the naturally occurring stuff. So obviously, if some forest fires are naturally occurring, then some air pollution would be naturally occurring as well. What is air pollution? You put stuff, right? Particles into the air. Particles of dust, particles of whatever. It could be lots of different things. Examples of some naturally occurring air pollutants. What did you say at your tables? Lauren, what did you guys say at your tables? Volcanoes, absolutely. Other examples of naturally occurring air pollution, we got forest fires, volcanoes, both of those are huge ones. There's one other one that I came up with when we were talking in our little group meeting that you may or may not think of. It's okay if you don't. Dust storms. I don't know if in history and in social studies classes, you've talked about like the Dust Bowl that occurred, in the not so distant past in the United States, right? That drove tons and tons and tons of dust up into the atmosphere, and that did cause air pollution as well. Okay? So those are kind of 3 big examples of air pollution. I wanted to show you some really quick snippets that document some of the air pollution and the causes and the effects of it naturally occurring, because yesterday you focused on the factories in China, right? And the smog that exists in China. And it's bad. I've been there and it's bad. Like, it makes you sick if it's on a really, really bad day. Okay. It's gross. So I'm going to show you a few different little quick videos here. I'm going to turn the sound up. And I would like you to write down a couple of things for each of these. The first one is the one that I did not think of right away, but it's kind of an interesting thing.
NASA scientists have performed the first multi-year study using satellite data to measure the 3D distribution of dust that travels from the Sahara Desert to the Amazon rainforest. The Sahara is the world's largest desert. At more than 3 million square miles, it's almost the size of the continental United States. Each year, Saharan dust is lifted from the ground and transported by winds on a 3,000-mile journey across the Atlantic Ocean. A portion of the dust collects in the Amazon basin, the largest rainforest on the planet. Although dust particles are small, no larger than around a tenth of the width of a human hair, they form massive plumes that can be seen from space. NASA's Calypso satellite was launched.
Okay, I just want you to imagine that. And they talked about like the size of the dust particles when we were talking about the smog in China. How big did they say that these dust particles are? So if you take a look at a piece of your hair, right? If you look at that and cut that little piece of hair into 10 equal sized pieces, that's how big we're talking about. These are extremely small little pieces, okay? And where are they coming from? What did they say? From the Sahara Desert, right, which is in Africa. And where is this stuff traveling to that they learned about? And where is the Amazon basin?
In South America.
South America. So we're going all the way across the Atlantic Ocean with this naturally occurring air pollution that happens.
In 2006, to study the vertical structure of clouds and particles in Earth's atmosphere. Calypso observations from 2007 through 2013 show that on average 182 million tons of dust leaves Africa each year. Of this amount, about 27 million tons is deposited in the Amazon basin.
Sahara dust contains phosphorus, which is an important nutrient for plants. In the tropic region, the phosphorus is quite limited, so it's important to estimate how much dust from the desert is transferred to the Amazon.
The study shows Saharan dust adds phosphorus to the soils that help compensate for losses due to surface runoff and floods. However, the amount of dust transported to the Amazon changes from year to year. According to the study, this variation is closely associated with changes in rainfall in the Sahel, a belt of semi-arid land just south of the Sahara.
When the Sahel was dry, the dust transport to the Amazon in the next year would increase. When it was wet, dust transport will decrease. Using satellites to get a clear picture of dust is important for understanding and eventually using computers to model where that dust will go now and in future climate scenarios.
So often when we talk about the word pollution, we think of things that are negative, right? Like pollution always sounds negative. Is it in this case? That transport of dust? The plants actually need this dust, right? And the scientist that was speaking was talking about how as climates change, that affects how much dust is moving over there. And the Amazon is a rich, rich area, not only for different native species, but also to produce a lot of oxygen for us, right? When we talk about the carbon cycle, the plants take in a bunch of that carbon. And so if that Amazon rainforest is not healthy, that's going to affect everything else on the planet as well. Does that make sense? So let's write down, you can do this right on your capture question if you haven't yet. What are we writing down here about these dust storms and this motion? Let's talk specifically about dust from the Sahara Desert that is transported to the Amazon basin. Remember, this is in northern Africa, and the Amazon basin is in central. Let me see if I can spell here. The answer is no. Let me try again. South America. So what do we know about it? What does the desert, or what does the dust transport in particular? Do you remember? Phosphorus? Yeah. O-U-S, phosphorus. To the rainforest. And that phosphorus helps the plants to grow. Phosphorus is one of the nutrients that if you go to Earl May or Lowe's or wherever and you get new soil, or you get, what's the word I'm looking for? What's that? Fertilizer, thank you, for plants. Phosphorus is one of the minerals that or the things that you often are looking for when you get that. Thoughts, questions? We good? Okay. So it can be good, and that's an important thing to know. Volcanoes. Who mentioned volcanoes? Somebody. Lauren, was that you that brought up volcanoes? So this is a quick little piece about a Hawaiian volcano that erupted last year, I believe, if I'm remembering right from when I watched it last night. Oops.
The Kilauea volcano has destroyed buildings and wildlife under slow-moving lava, but the recent eruption could also spread health problems across the Hawaiian Islands. A toxic gas called fog or volcanic smog is created when magma releases gaseous sulfur dioxide into the atmosphere. When this compound mixes with sunlight, water, and dust, it creates air pollution similar to the emissions from coal-burning power plants. Volcanoes naturally produce this sulfur dioxide, but during eruptions, they release larger than usual amounts through fissures and vents. That can be deadly for people who have cardiovascular or respiratory issues, and it may lead to an uptick of certain ailments. After Kilauea erupted in 2008, researchers found local health clinics reported twice as many severe sore throat cases and 3 times the number of headaches. And fog can affect more than just people living near the volcano. If trade winds are blowing, volcanic smog can either taper off over the ocean or spread from one island to the rest. That's what happened in 2016. Winds carried volcanic smog from Kilauea more than 200 miles away to the other Hawaiian islands.
All right, take a minute with your partners to write down something about that volcanic eruption in Hawaii. Go ahead and write that down. Quick. What are you writing down?
It's kind of spooky. Vlog.
All right, help me out. Sydney, what did you write down? Anything? No? Liz, what did you write down?
Well, I was wondering, what's the chemical that releases?
Yep, so I can tell you that. The chemical that's released, did anybody catch that when they said it? Sulfur dioxide. In addition to a bunch of dust and nastiness, the gas that's released primarily in a volcanic eruption is sulfur dioxide. So what happens? That sulfur dioxide, what does it do? What does it cause? It causes health issues. Do you remember what kinds of health issues in particular? Causes. So I'm going to write health issues, including cardiovascular. What does cardiovascular mean? Your heart, that whole, like your, I was going to say cardiovascular system. That wouldn't do us right. But like all the blood pumping through your body, right? Yep. And also, what else did they say? Respiratory. There's an I in there. My spelling friends. Where does it go? PIR. Thank you. I appreciate you guys. Respiratory problems. And respiratory, what does that mean? Your lungs, your breathing, right? So we've got cardiovascular, we have respiratory problems. What else? Headaches. Sore throats, all of those sorts of things, right? How did these health issues compare to the ones that you read about yesterday? It's the same stuff. So this natural air pollution does the same thing as that man-made or human-caused air pollution, right? This stuff we can't really control. It's going to happen, but we can control the other. There's one more, and this one it's again about volcanoes. This is from a few years ago. I think 2010 maybe is when this happened. But there was a volcanic eruption that happened in Iceland that not only did it give off this sulfur dioxide and all of that, but it also caused some other problems. And I thought this was just like one more little step in that direction that I thought you'd be interested in. We get out at 32 today. So it's kind of like a short-ish, short day. This one's a quick one too. So it's a volcano near Iceland. The atmosphere, here, I'm going to go back to make sure you saw that. Because this does not, this one, there is no narration, so you have to read. So I just want to make sure we've got this. So there's an eruption of a volcano near Iceland, near the something glacier. I do not speak Icelandic, so I cannot pronounce that word. Okay? It's led to flights being grounded. What does that mean? They don't fly, right? So all these airplanes, there are hundreds of airplanes that are flying, and thousands of airplanes that are flying. They cannot fly because of this. It was affected mostly the UK, which is England and the surrounding areas up there, due to ash that was thrown into the air by this volcano, okay? The ash, it's again really, really, really small particles. But those really, really, really small particles can damage the engine. Just like if you've ever been on a beach on a windy day and you've ever had sand hitting your legs, do you know what I mean? It's kind of it kind of hurts a little bit. We're talking the same thing except on a massive scale, and that it's so big and so much ash that it could rip airplane engine apart. That's bad. But look at those plumes. That's all ash. That's not smoke, guys. There was another volcano that erupted 1 month later. That's a lot of ash. So they also, did you guys see what that said? Ordered a bunch of people to evacuate, not only because of the air pollution, but also because the melting ice was going to set off floods. Okay, so we're going into different pieces of the earth now. I don't know what they're saying. That poor little girl. So there's one of the volcanoes erupting right there. Let's go snowmobile. I don't know. They're probably doing some research. That's a lot of stuff being thrown into the air, right? There you go. All right. Just to write down that the ash that is generated, not only can it affect humans, but it can also affect machinery, it can affect mechanics, and it can throw logistics in general all into whack, right? Volcanic eruptions, the ash from the eruption can affect living things, we'll say. As well as mechanical. I'll just say as well as mechanical. Okay. All right, we've got about 10 minutes left in the period today. Let me tell you what you have to do, okay? Yesterday, you were given that pink sheet that had the find the evidence. Most of you got this done, I believe. I want to remind you that when I take a look at this, when we talk about it, I'm looking for actual evidence. I'm looking for quotes or paraphrases from the author, okay? So that's important to know. You'll be turning this in to me tomorrow for me to check, okay? On the back of that sheet was one about asthma. Some of you started this yesterday. If you did not start this yesterday, then I want you to get started on this one today. You may work on this with a partner. That is absolutely fine. Okay? And then finally, there's one more sheet about natural air pollution that I'll bring around to you that has to do with volcanoes. There's a little bit in the article to read here, and then there's also some graphs and some analysis to do with this. All right? So when you get to class tomorrow, all three of those sheets should be completed. So there was the asthma one, and then this is the volcano one, again, that I'm handing out to you in just a minute. Okay? So you may get your computers out to take a look at the article. You may answer the questions that are on there and on here. That's what you need to do. You've got 10 minutes. I will let you know when you have 1 minute left so that you can pack up. Please do not pack up until then. All right? Say that again.
We have to read article on our notebooks.
It's the same article. So they all come from the same thing. So I think that one you can probably answer most of the questions just from that page.
But we do need.
You read the article because you did the other side already, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all from the same article. Yeah. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
Okay.